I've built this little test rig. Now it's not meant to be scientific, it's just meant to be able to give a comparison between different types of propellers so that we can check the difference in thrust, if any. Okay, it's quick and dirty, but that's the way I like it. Let's see how it's done. Here are my donor scales, and I guess we ought to check that they work before we rip them apart. So in grams, the only test weight I have is 0.1 UK pounds, which is 45 grams, so 0.1 is 45.3 something. So that's accurate enough for what we need, and we switch it to pounds, it's 0.099, so 0.1. So all is good. Let's get the thing apart. I guess in true Chinese tradition there'll be some little screws under these pads. No surprise there. I'll keep those little pads for some other task. Let's take a look inside now. It seems that we have to get the top platform off somehow. To remove the top panel, we have to find there's a hole in the sticker here, under which we can see a little screw. With that released, we can remove the top. So with the top removed, we can see there's not very much inside it. We have the load cell in the center there with the 4 wires coming off of it. Usual Chinese quality soldering there. I've been to town with my Dremel cut-off wheel and separated the battery compartment and display, and we've got the load cell still here. I've resoldered those awful joints on there, and to everybody's shock and horror, the thing still works. Now I did discover, as playing with this, that it will actually show negative. So when we deform it in this direction, we get positive, and if we deform it in the opposite direction, negative. So that's interesting. Now to attach our motors, just as a template, I've got a spare arm, and I found in my stock of pack rat junk. This I believe was a heatsink out of a laptop charger switch mode power supply, and that's about 2.5 mil I think, which should be adequate. We only need probably this part here. So I'm going to use this arm as the template and get that drilled out for a kind of a standard motor. So I'm going to make them 3 mil and slot them out to accommodate different diameters of motor. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done. Here's the arrangement that I've come up with. Simply bolted a piece of angle iron down to this old chopping board, and that's going to be heavy enough for just this little prop. Obviously if we're testing more serious motors and much larger props, then we can clamp this down to a bench, and I've just got a standard old ESC hooked up for the moment just to try that. And we can see the arrangement of the load cell and the little bracket that I've made to carry the motor. If my metalwork teacher, Mr. Rousby, is looking down from on high, no doubt he will probably give me, I don't know, 4 out of 10. That's acting on the load cell there, and if we power the scales on, we can see that if we gently push onto the motor there, then it's indicating the thrust. So obviously the propeller and motor arrangement, the direction of spin and the type of propeller is pushing against the load cell, and the air obviously will be going that way, so that won't affect the result. It won't be blowing on the load cell itself. So we're going to need a few other things before we can test it. Let me go and grab those. I brought out my old servo tester. This is only a PWM speed controller, none of your fancy one-shot, D-shot long shot kicky bucket, but we'll get into that no doubt at some point. And my faithful Astroflight watt meter. So I've got the battery hooked up to the meter here, 12.4 volts, so that's pretty much fully charged. Let's put the scales on. Safety squints. That's going to get noisy, guys. So that was about 8 amps and some 400 grams. Let's just zero that again. Perhaps it doesn't like the vibration. Yes, 423 grams and 8 amps. As I said, I'm only really interested in comparisons. This is a fairly old Gemfan design. I was sent some to try recently. This is also Gemfan. Let's stick that on and compare notes. So I'm just disconnecting the power, making sure we torque that prop nut up. So this is the new Gemfan design. Just make sure everything's okay. And let's see what we've got with this guy. How interesting. Over 10 amps, but just about half of the thrust, 220 something. Well, I think I should be sticking with the Gemfan originals on my quick and dirty comparison here.